Welcome to Rauta. I am Jerry, and this time in the Underground Trio we have three totally different bands from the underground, being smaller bands, less known ones, and so forth, why they're here. Anyway, as always, this is, according to my opinion, worst to best. Despite them being different genres and different places, scenes, and what have you. This time, however, we have two from Australia. They're not exactly related, but coming from the same label. And then we have one from Norway. Technically speaking, we're starting with some kind of a black and death metal, or death black, which way you wanna go with, call it. Then we have heavy metal / progressive metal from Norway. And last but not least, we have Australian black metal band. So let's get it going. This first one is something that I really don't know how to properly pronounce. Hebephrenique. I mean, if I would just go with the Finnish way, I would just call it Hebephrenique, and that would be roughly it. Non-Compos Mentis. Anyway, here it is. Not exactly the most readable logo out there. So let's remove it from the jewel case so you can see it better without the reflections coming from the outside. Where is this very wintry landscape? Not exactly reminding me of Australia. Okay, let's just screw this. This jewel case is very tight, so if I'm gonna squeeze it out here, it's gonna break the goddamn box, so let's just cope with it. Well, you see the beautiful reflection of microphone and outside winter times. Anyway, this is very dark photo, so really not much to see except the reflections of my office space here. On the background you will see the track listing, 5 songs, 29 minutes. So technically speaking, challenging the limits of MCD or EP and full album. Then again, we all have to remember that Raining Blood is only 29 minutes and then some. But yeah, this logo is not exactly readable. Sometimes when I see these bands, I'm thinking, yeah, they really must hate their audience because they are really not giving their name easily. But maybe that has some kind of a cult value you and me are not gonna understand. Maybe you will. I prefer more simplistic and cooler logos. Anyway, this booklet is very simple, 4 pages, including handwritten lyrics. Very cool for those who like the artistic output, but those who are maybe more into reading with easiness, this is not exactly the way to go. Anyway, so as you can see, pretty basic. No bullshit, no gimmicks kind of a jewel case release, and what can we expect from this band? Now, Metal Archives classifies this as black and death metal. In a way, that's kind of true, but I would just say it's death metal with black metal influence. Whether you go which or that way doesn't really matter, you get the whole idea. This band was formed in 2021, if I recall correctly. This is the first release, and as such it's kind of a demo-ish. The band is here to put two different things together, but not so successful ways. I mean, I kind of get what they're trying to do. Sometimes it's more straightforward, sometimes it's get a little bit, experimental in a way, and a lot of those ideas don't really work that well. I mean, it's not bad, but really not exactly great either. There's a little strong demo-ish feelings throughout the album, and also that same thing applies to the production values. It's almost like a little bit this and that all over the places. Now, if you like a lot of diversity and ideas going a little bit experimental off the road and all that stuff, you're gonna love it. Or at least like it. But if you're one of the kind, like me, boneheaded, simple metalhead, who is like, death metal this way, thrash metal that way, black metal that way, combining these two different elements or whatever, just gets things sometimes too complicated or more like lack of focus, which is in my opinion happening here. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I disrespect or dislike this kind of stuff or this particular release. It's more like a little bit more focus with better production, punchy and all that stuff would make this album more powerful. Now, there are plenty of potential ideas, and I think with time and effort and work in progress kind of things, this band will actually evolve into something that this album is probably trying to be. So for me, this sounds more like a demo released as an album. Not a bad idea if the music is cold and solid and all that stuff, but this lacks too much punch and it's too much all over the place with lots of ideas. Like I said, not bad, but could be a lot better. Anyway, let's move on. This time we go to Norway with Imperial Child, Secrets of the Roman Ghost. This album cover is, in my opinion, pretty cool, even if a little bit goofy. And this jewel case is already broken. Was when I took it out of the package. In case you're wondering, I'm not getting violent against my review CDs, not that often anyway. But as you can see, already shattered partially to pieces. This is the second album by this 2018 founded band. This cover is something what I like, even kind of a goofy. You have a cobra. Why? Then you have some pirates, maybe some wise man, child, some skeletal being, Iron Maiden anyone, and some horned creature. It's almost like a, hey, let's take some fantasy literature beings here, some comic book characters, let's just throw them together. Let's also add a wolf and a bird. I don't know, but I like it. It's kind of goofy, but then again, it fits this kind of stuff. I mean, when we're talking about classic heavy metal clashing with progressive metal and all, I mean, you're kind of bound to go really, really way these ways. I mean, after all, Eddie was a frequent visitor with Iron Maiden albums and a lot of heavy metal albums, including bands like Iced Earth. Always had a little bit comic book-like appearances and graphics and all that stuff. Four guys doing music, and they're definitely flirting with progressive side of metal, but mostly leaning to more melodic, even traditional heavy metal for that matter. Traditional melodic heavy metal are not exactly excluding one another, more like complementing one another. And then we of course have the CD, so it's not just booklet and all that stuff. Now the second album is obviously putting a lot of talent and skill together, meaning in essence that this album is made with a lot of passion and love and probably too many ideas for their own good. I'm saying basically this has a lot of the same problems than the previous band from Australia. Like some ideas are going that way, some ideas are going that way, and somewhere in the middle of the road figuring out, hey, why the other two guys went that way and why that one guy is going there. I'm gonna just stay here and wait for them to come back. By this metaphor, I'm trying to say that some of the ideas don't really fit together that much. I mean, you have some metalcore idea here. Why? When the, forced putting them together kind of a thing doesn't really work that well. I mean, the basic foundation with the album, which makes this rather pretty and nice, is that you have a lot of cool, basic heavy metal ideas, which then again works like a charm if you're into heavy metal. But when you go a little bit progressive and drive once again off the road, trying to figure out why on earth are you there when you're supposed to just take your car and enjoy the highway. That's where it gets complicated. Don't get me wrong. Like, for example, the production is golden. It's really, really good. The vocalist is really good. I can totally understand and like his style, and it just makes a lot of sense. But then sometimes you have those weird breakdowns, and I'm like, why on earth you need to do that? You just broke the good smooth flow with like a bumpy road. Like, you don't drive your supercar into some forest wood roads and just then bitch about the goddamn springs and whatnot. I'm saying this album is a little bit all over the place. That's like having diversity for its own sake would be goddamn good miracle. It's not really. But then again, a lot of good things happen here for the most parts of the album, so it's kind of likable if you're into basic heavy metal. I mean, this, in my opinion, doesn't really pale in comparison when you're comparing it with two later Iron Maiden releases and what have you. So basically these guys have all it takes, except that the songwriting is a little bumpy road. And sometimes the songs are a little bit too lengthy for their own good. But good potential heavy metal right there, and doesn't really annoy anybody. Then the last one in the pile comes also from Australia, but really could fool you with the rather Norwegian take of the name. Fryktelig Støy. This is actually a one-woman project, not that common in black metal. And comes with a digi sleeve. Also, like the first release, Gutter Prince Cabal label. Cabal, which one it is. This one is curious because it kind of reeks of 1990s. In a good way, though, with the exception that the production is just unjustified. I'm saying, why on earth you want to go super organic, lack of distorted guitars and not having a punch? It's almost like, I'm going to punch you with no arms, no fist, but I'm going to do it a little bit with my elbows and, I don't know, shoulders. And I'm like, but you could have it. You could have it all with strong punches, left and right, uppercuts, all the things. Anyway, one female project paying tribute in a way to Norwegian 1990s black metal, and there's lots of cool ideas. These sometimes also goes a little bit weird with the bumpiness, and sometimes having riffs like, are you gonna go for more avant-garde take on black metal, or should you go more the progressive side, or is it just like undecided what to do? Problem with the one-person bands are often this. Nobody is telling you like, don't do it, don't add that part there, please hold your back a little bit more. When you're just one person taking care of everything, drums, guitars, bass, vocals, songwriting, you're like, ha ha ha, like a madman, like just going overboard, and people are like, okay, she screwed up, and nobody can tell it that. It's too late anyway. Well, the other problem is, I don't know a single musician in the underground who is equally capable of handling guitars, bass, vocals, drums, and all that stuff. So, which brings us to the very problem on this album. While the songwriting can be quite good and to a certain degree certainly quite enjoyable, there are a couple of problems I want to address. First of all, the vocals. They are way too monotone for the most parts. They don't really have the diversity or change in the tone or all that stuff, but this is more like done with the screamy and squeaky parts, and you are trying to put a lot of emotion there, sounding like a machine. Do I get my point across? The other thing is, the drums sound so sloppy that it almost reminds me of early Judas Iscariot ones, where the drums go a little bit crazy, in a bad way. I mean, you can enjoy clumsiness to a certain degree, but sometimes you're like, please don't, like, get a real drummer. When it comes to the guitars and bass and all, yeah, it's just does it fine. But the vocals and the drums are the weak point. But if you're not getting snobbery and just focus on the grim organic sound, which is not grim enough in my opinion, well, you're good to go. Definitely a lot of potential here, but I feel pretty much like with the first album here, it's too demo-ish for its own good. Like a lot of these things, given proper production, more diverse vocals, more aggression, more evilness, more sinister feeling, and proper good drumming could really take this up a notch or two. But that is just my opinion. Don't give a shit what I say. I know nothing about nothing. I'm just a metalhead going through some albums. Anyway, with these flaws, this is still the best of the pile. So, if you want black and death metal, go for this one, the unpronounceable, the unreadable logo. Or if you want heavy metal with progressive metal, go for Imperial Child. Or Fryktelig Støy, almost Norwegian, Australian take on black metal with organic touch and sloppy drumming. This is all you need to do. You will find links provided in the description box. If you want to hate this review or my opinion, feel free. I just enjoy it. I will take it as an energy and put it in the next video as well. Now, off you go. Listen to some of these bands. Take care and enjoy. Be metal, be brutal, be true to yourself, be honest. Bye.